Now, let me come to a conclusion here. And I could tell you much more. I'll only tell you personally that I've never seen anything like it. I mean, as an adult or as a conscious human being, I've never seen anything like this. And I've seen a lot of things. But my heart just breaks every day, and I'm enraged every day. And as enraged as I am by the perverse cruelty and violence of the Israeli state, I'm at least equally enraged by the silence and complicity of the civilized world, of the democratic world. So what's that about? Why is the Polish government making it okay for Netanyahu to visit here, this war criminal? Why are the Germans and the French and the British and the Americans sending weapons? Against whom? Against whom? A civilian population and a few fighters with guns. And they send airplanes and 2,000-pound bombs and white phosphorus chemicals and ammunition, intelligence equipment, everything. Now, why is that? Excuse me. Because every one of those countries, not Poland in this case, but the West, Germany, France, Belgium, the Netherlands, England, United States, have been colonial countries. Their wealth is based on the expropriation of the wealth of the rest of the world. Sheer robbery. Empire is robbery. The Roman Empire was robbery. The British Empire was robbery. The British Museum is the world's largest collection of stolen goods, stolen art. And every one of those countries had committed genocide. The Americans did it against the indigenous people. As a matter of fact, Hitler learned from the Americans about the extermination of the indigenous people. It was one of his inspirations was America. The Spanish, of course, the Portuguese, the Belgians. I'm going to ask you just raise your hand if you know this fact, that in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, about 120, 130 years ago, the Belgians caused the death of 12 million people in the Congo. Raise your hand if they told you that in school. If they told you that in school. Very few hands. How come they didn't tell you that? How come they didn't tell you that? How come they didn't tell you about all the other genocides? How come they didn't tell you that the first German genocide wasn't against Jews, it was against black Africans in what is known as Namibia? They don't tell you that because the West is a colonial entity. And how does and Israel is part of that colonial enterprise. So much of what drives what we're seeing right now is not just the result of Jewish trauma. What we're actually seeing right now is the last major expression of Western colonialism, where the indigenous people are inhuman, they don't matter. How dare they fight back? And even if they fight back peacefully, we kill them. Israel is always saying, where's the Palestinian Gandhi? Peaceful resistance. You know where he is? He's dead. In 2019, 2020, in Gaza, the Gazans had what they called the Great March of Return, where they unarmed marched up to the barbed wire. And I saw the barbed wire in Auschwitz. Gaza is surrounded by the same barbed wire. And Gaza has been called by an Israeli sociologist the world's largest concentration camp. So they marched up to the barbed wire demanding to return to those homes that Moshe Dayan was talking about. The Israelis killed hundreds of them. They were totally unarmed. Even if they were wearing medical uniforms, if they were in wheelchairs, they shot them. And you can read this in the Israeli press. The snipers in their tanks or in their sandbanks, as they were looking down at these civilians, unarmed people, they had a contest. Who could shatter more Palestinian knees? This was their fun and games. Nobody in the West reported this. It wasn't news. Where does Eastern Europe come into this? Well, Poland, Hungary, Czechoslovakia, or Czechia, Slovakia, all these countries have decided that we have to belong to the West. That means we have to swallow, absorb, and express Western ideology. And so basically, you've been brainwashed. I don't mean you personally. I mean you as a country. That in order to belong to the West, you have to take on Western values, and Western values is the values of colonialism. And that's why they don't tell you the truth. That's why they allowed this mass murderer to visit here. And that's why you never hear Palestinian voices.